relationship learning group. We want to understand component details around that, because the goal is for this not to be your only haruta, right? You know, the vision is that these groups will multiply and pop up and spring up into wherever your sphere of influence is. So we want to make sure we understand the components of it. You know, we want to understand how to facilitate them, you know, and also how to encourage them. But the goal is not us, or the end goal is not us, but we want to influence others that this is the best way, the most impactful way, the most effective way in discussing, you know, God's word, you know, and transmitting his truth and his word, you know. So to the ends of the earth, to the ends of time. We want to keep that in mind. So the goal is not our ability to understand and what we learn, but, you know, it's those who we influence. Let me make sure I got this so it won't kick no feedback. All right. I think we got our recording going. So if somebody will go ahead and quote our verse for us. I won't pull the verse on the screen. We're gonna keep a dialogue and discussion going, because we should have that verse downloaded in our data bank, not because I memorized it, because it should be internalized by now. All right. So somebody internalize our scripture verse for us.
I will. It's Matthew chapter 5, verse 1 and 2.
Excuse me, Will. Can I interrupt?
Yes, sir. I'm very interruptible.
I know it. That's why I asked.
Like my rabbi.
All right, thanks. Let somebody else do it, man. I know you got it. Yeah, I know you got it. We'll give somebody else a chance.
Which is Matthew 5, verses 1 and 2. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him, and he opened his mouth and began to teach them, saying.
All right, excellent. One more time for us.
When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him, and he opened his mouth and began to teach them, saying.
Excellent, excellent. We're gonna start our review in a slightly different order. Probably the only thing is somebody give us our verse outline. Anybody remember the verse outline? We hadn't talked about it in a while. But somebody give us our verse outline and thoughts.
Do you mean the title of the study or just the outline?
We'll get the title next. The outline of the verse. You know, we outlined the verse a while back in thoughts.
Hey, Pastor.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Can we make a note of something?
Yes, sir.
To look at later. But I'm sitting here and we've gone over this thing so many times, and something just struck me. Why the detail till he opened his mouth? How do you speak without opening your mouth? So I'm wondering, did rabbi and disciples have signals? Maybe like, like the military or special forces? Was there? It just made me think. Did they have signals? Did they have? Was there a way a rabbi spoke to his disciples without words? I guess that's the best way to say it, because it specifically says he opened his mouth, right?
Yes.
And so, is there a language they had without opening their mouth?
Yeah.
Communication. It just made me think of that. So, because how in the world can you speak or talk without opening your mouth? But that's kind of detailed. So, if we could make a note of that, it might be something there. I don't know.
Yeah. Now that's good stuff. All right. Now, perfect stuff. See, that's what internalizing the scripture is supposed to draw out of us. That's why we continue to do it. Because the more we look at it, the more what's unnecessary, unusual, or it seems like it should be obvious. So why mention it? So that's a Darash question Soup is asking us. It's like it's problematic. Like that seems like it's a problem, because why should he have to say that? And because it's a problem, there's something more there. It's a reason why Matthew said it. But yes, Soup, that is intended to be a part of our discovery and discussion, to figure it out, because there's some Jewish connotation connected to that being said. And that's what I mean when I talk about, man, constantly digging into this for several months now. Man, it's a load of information that I continue to stumble across that's important, but definitely noted. So yeah, definitely noted. All right. But that's again another connection in the Haruta, this companionship learning. Like, who else in the group may have thought of that unless Soup brought it out? So now it ain't Soup's heart, it's our heart. It's now it's not, Soup's discovery opportunity, it's our discovery opportunity. So now we just created an endeavor as a group, and as a group we'll have a chance to debate, give our opinion about it. But again, we got a rule of engagement. We don't give out loose opinions. Our opinions have to be supported by something, whether it's scripture, whether it's a resource, a historical point. But that's where we get that opportunity. But good stuff, Soup. Good stuff. We will. Yes, we will. All right. Come on, John. Think you were getting ready to give us our outline?
Okay, the outline, it begins with the text of the verse, Matt.5, verses 1 and 2. And then we move to the characters in the text.
Oh, one moment. I think I may have misconfused. Only what I'm doing a little differently is we want to look at the I'm trying not to get a number, because I want somebody, I want to try to see if somebody was paying attention way back when. But we outlined the verse itself. We separated the verse in thoughts. Anybody remember that?
Did you, the 5 observations?
Yes.
Okay. Did you want me to, should I go ahead and tell them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the 5 observations, Jesus saw the crowds. He went up on the mountain. After he sat down, number 4 is his disciples came to him. Number 5 is he opened his mouth and began to teach them, saying.
All right. Now, because of what, thanks, Lena. Because of what Soup said, we have to separate them. The last 2 has to be 2 thoughts now, so it expands. And what I mean by he opened his mouth is a separate thought. We don't run together now because of Soup's inquiry, or because of an inquiry like Soup's. It causes us to separate that one in a separate thought, because it lends its own endeavor. All right, does that make sense? So instead of 5 observations, we should have 6 now.
So 5 would be he opened his mouth, and 6 would be he began to teach them, saying.
Yes. Or we'll just say began to teach them, because now that question makes me think, why not just say he began to teach? Why do you need to say he opened his mouth? It's obvious that if I teach, I open my mouth. But Matthew was strategic. Once again, it's kind of like repeating. Open his mouth and saying is the same thing. or is it? So he said, open his mouth. He began to teach them, comma, and then he said, saying. So we very well may have 3 thoughts in that one sentence or one observation. So yeah. So we'll see. See. All right. We'll see. Eastern time is happening, y'all. All right. Makes sense? So now we may have 7, right? Open his mouth is 1. He began to teach them is another. And then we'll leave the last one the same. Now, if we don't produce anything out of it, it's okay. But I'm almost certain it was a reason he said it. All right. It was a reason. So yeah. So
Did the
now,
disciples know to automatically come to him?
all right, another good question.
He didn't beckon for them. It just says that after he sat down, his disciples came to him.
Excellent stuff.
Just
Once again, this Haruta is coming alive. Come on, Zena, don't unmute my bad. I just
no,
got
it was just a question.
I know it, but my excitement is all the questions that's popping out. That's my excitement, right? So ask yours one more time.
So I wanted to ask it a few weeks ago, but I didn't, of course, I didn't. But it says after he sat down, his disciples came to him. And I was just wondering, how did they know to come to him? Did they come to him just because they knew he was Jesus? Did he beckon for them? Did he tell them? Or they just knew to come?
All right. Do me a favor. Under that observation section, please put your question under that and then type both in the chat for me. You know, that observation section, and up under it, put your question under there. All right.
The whole observation, 1 through 6. Okay.
No, just
that one.
Yeah, just the one you asking the question about.
Okay.
Yep. That way we won't forget it. And do the same for Soup's question on open his mouth. Excuse me. In that way, so you can't have a Haruta without Darash. When I use the term Darash, I'm talking about the art of asking questions, the method of the questioning. You know, so there's no Haruta without the art of questioning. All right, and that's the whole goal of it. All right. Yeah, good stuff. All right, good stuff. John, did you have another comment? I saw you unmute again.
No, it's my bad. I forgot to mute myself.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, Zena, if you don't mind, go back through our observations, reform or refined.
Number 1 is Jesus saw the crowds. 2, he went up on the mountain. 3, after he sat down. 4, his disciples came to him. 5, he opened his mouth. 6, he began to teach them.
Okay. And let's do 7, saying.
Can we get those dropped in the group me or someplace like that, Miss Zena?
No problem.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody want to repeat those? Refined? Somebody else?
Yes, sir, I'll do it.
Okay.
Let me just finish my my addition right here. Okay. So observations I have: 1, when Jesus saw the crowds. 2, he went up on a mountain. 3, after he sat down. 4, his disciples came to him. Underneath 4, I have Zena's question: did the disciple know to come to him because he never called them to himself? Let me put that to himself. 5, he opened his mouth. Another, he opened his mouth. I have Soup's question: was there another way the rabbi communicated to the disciples? I got non-verbally or with signals, Because how can you speak without opening your mouth? If I wrote that out correctly. 6, I have and began to teach them. And then 7 is saying.
Okay. And right now, I don't know what's there, but the observations causes us to focus on it, to ask more questions about it, that guides us to discoveries or endeavor that leads to discoveries of truth. And so I'm most certain that there'll be a rainbow at the end of that tunnel, and we'll chase it. All right. So yeah. So we'll chase it. All right, good stuff. All right, one more person. Our new observation order.
Well, if you say, number 1, Jesus saw the crowd. Number 2, he went up on the mountain. Number 3, after he sat down. Number 4, his disciples came to him. Number 5, he opened his mouth. Number 6, he began to teach them. Number 7, saying.
Okay, good stuff. All right, good stuff. All right, now let's go back to our title. Somebody give us our title and the characters.
The title is going to be expectation of Jesus and his disciples in the crowd.
Okay.
That's the title. Now, could I say Jesus / Rabbi? Would that be incorrect?
No, that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And so as our group, as we learn, the goal once again is for us to carry the teaching. You will hear that later. When you carry the teaching, you do a lot when you look at the context of carrying something. For me to carry something, the first thing I do is I have to grab hold to it. So in a spiritual sense, we metaphorically we grab hold to the teaching. Then when I grab hold to it, and I embrace it as my own, I draw it unto myself. So I got to grab hold of the teaching. I have to draw it into myself, and then I lift up on it, or I bring it inside of me, or I put it on top of me. All right. However I do it, I'm a part of it. I've connected to it, and now I can walk with it or carry it. And so we're carrying this thing as the characters. Why we use Jesus, because it's obvious, but we also know how to explain who he is in this context. Come on, Soup.
So going along the lines of Luke 6:40, you hoopo under the truth to carry the truth.
Yes, good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Come under it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If I can repeat what you said, Pastor KOC.
Okay.
You said the goal is for us to carry the teaching. We grab hold of it and we make it become a part of us.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So yeah. And we'll talk more about it. But when we now we're thinking like the rabbis, and we're thinking like, the learners in their culture is, they take those allegories and metaphors and think through them so we can see our processes. This is what we've been doing this though. It ain't like we just started doing this, but we're learning how to think through it in this way, which makes it more strategic and intentional, but also transformational. So yes. So yes. So yes.
And in our earlier teaching, I remember you telling us about this, by how was it the parables or something we had to grab it and put it to us.
Yeah.
I don't know how it was, but in our earlier teaching, I remember you bringing that up.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that when we did our parable study.
Okay.
And then also it was Rabbi Akiva's explanation of a parable,
Okay.
teaching without a parable.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. But now we see where his framework comes from. We see why he framed that statement that way, because it was a way of thinking for them. So yeah, so it wasn't like it was supernatural or unordinary in him penning that statement or being coined with that statement. It was a way of thinking. So yeah, it was a way of thinking. So yeah. All right.
What was a way of thinking?
The statement by Rabbi Akiva when he says a teaching teaching without a parable is like a basket with no handles.
Right, that's it.
You have no way to grab hold to and draw it unto yourself. All right. So yeah, remember that?
I do. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah. Yeah. This stuff is unfolding in front of us. You know, it's unfolding in front of us because now we're learning how to develop this pattern of thinking, and that's the strongest way of transformation. You know, it's permanent. It becomes a permanent way, you know, and it becomes a part of our routine because it's a way of life, because we're internalizing this stuff. But we're doing that because of the companionship learning model we're modeling. So yeah. So yeah.
So all your teaching is lining up, pretty much.
Yeah, that's all we've been saying, you know.
Okay.
We're now being able to label and put terms next to this stuff that we've been practicing.
Okay.
So yeah. Yeah. All right. All right, let's keep reviewing. So what's our title for the text and our characters again?
But the title for the text is The Expectation of Jesus / Rabbi, the Disciples, and the Crowd.
Hmm.
And the text itself, do you want the character of the text?
The characters of the text.
That would be the Rabbi, the Disciples, and the Crowd. Do I put the S on that crowd still?
Yes. Oh yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Got it.
Yes. All right. Okay. All right. Now, somebody give us our expectations and what they are.
The expectations of each, the rabbi had an expectation of his disciples. The disciples had an expectation of the rabbi, and the crowd had expectations of the rabbi's disciples.
All right, one more time.
The expectations of each, the rabbi had an expectation of his disciples. The disciples had an expectation of the rabbi. Number 3, the crowd had expectations of the rabbi's disciples.
Okay. Now give us what they are.
The rabbi expected his disciples to repeat his lesson 100 times or more, or until they were able to repeat it for themselves. The rabbi expected his disciples to repeat his lesson 100 times or more, or until they were able to repeat it for themselves. The disciples expected that the rabbi would teach the lesson enough times until the disciple was able to repeat the lesson for themselves. The disciples expected that the rabbi would teach the lesson enough times until the disciple was able to repeat the lesson for themselves. And the crowd expected the rabbi's disciples that if the crowd were not present to hear the rabbi's lesson, they expected the rabbi's disciple to be able to repeat the rabbi's lesson to them when necessary. The crowd expected the rabbi's disciples that if the crowd were not present to hear the rabbi's lesson, they expected the rabbi's disciple to be able to repeat the rabbi's lesson to them when necessary, if necessary.
Okay. All right.
So in saying that, those two expectations, it said that the rabbi would be able to repeat the lesson for themselves. In both of those, number 1 and number 2, correct?
Ask that one more time, Will. I heard you, but
okay. You're saying the rabbi expected, no, the disciple expected the rabbi to repeat the lesson to them enough times so that they would be able to repeat it for themselves.
True.
Right. And then number 1, that the rabbi expected that the disciple would teach the lesson 100 times or more until they was able to repeat it for themselves. Correct?
Well, number 1 would be, and if I'm correct, we put it down this way, is it's about repetition of repeating to learn and internalize, not necessarily just repeating in the teaching for the disciples. Because the first statement is what the rabbi expected of his disciple, right?
Right.
In the simplest or way or the inception of his expectations was simply to repeat. But we say repeat 100 times because it's metaphoric or symbolic of something, all right? So the first statement would be the rabbi expected his disciples to repeat his lesson at least 100 times until they were able to repeat or teach themselves.
Okay. And number 3, what you finish?
Yeah, I was going to repeat number 2 again.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And number 2 is that the disciples' expectation of the rabbi is that the rabbi will repeat the lesson enough times for them, because that's the need. Like, if I'm a student and I'm willing to repeat it, but my teacher don't have time for me, how can I learn? A teacher doesn't make himself available to repeat it enough times, you know? So the teacher moves on. Well, I get my notes. I've discussed that he's not willing to spend time with me. So it shows, two-way accountability is what we're seeing.
Right. And I see that.
Yeah.
But my question is, the crowd came and expected to hear the lesson, but it don't give them saying that they should be able to repeat the lesson themselves. Right? They just came and they heard it. But the disciple was coming to hear so that they could be able to teach it.
Yeah,
and the crowd, okay, I'm sorry.
Now go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were through. Go ahead.
I am, and the crowd just came to that to hear it, and that was the end of it?
No, it was the end of their role or position and posture as crowds if they wanted more than just hearing. Does that make sense? See, at that point, it means their roles change. They're not crowd. They're not considered the crowd no more when they change their posture of just wanting to hear. When they want to commit to the lesson, they become disciples. So now we're not viewing them as crowd members anymore. They've converted or changed their posture.
That makes a lot of sense. I just was wondering. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. Good question. Somebody else probably had the same one. So, yeah. All right. Come on, Dr. Fred. You got something?
No, sir.
Okay. All right.
Just got my hand on the trigger. Want to get ahead of Will credit every now and then.
All right. So somebody again, because we got our Eastern folks on again, they may have picked up on it, but I want to let everybody know that we've made some revisions to our 5 observations. We've made some revisions to our 5 observations. All right. Somebody give us those newly renewed observations again.
I'll take a shot at it. The observations, we say the 5 observations, formerly the 5 observations. Okay. According to Matt.5, 1 and 2, observation number 1, when Jesus saw the crowd. Number 2, he went up on the mountain. He went up on the mountain. And number 3, after he sat down. After he sat down. Number 4, observation number 4, his disciples came to him. His disciples came to him. Number 5, he opened his mouth. And there was a note there, a question regarding, was there another way for a rabbi to speak to the disciples other than opening his mouth? That was a question. Number 6, and he began to teach them. And he began to teach them. And observation number 7 is simply the word saying.
Okay. All right. And I want to clarify, we put those questions will be placed in another section. They won't go into this section. They won't fit comfortably where we placed them. We put them there for not losing sight of it when it's time to utilize them.
Okay.
So I just want to clarify that with everybody. There's a whole section we're going to uncover that those questions are going to fit comfortably in. So they won't necessarily go right here. This will still be cleanly just our observations when we're introducing this. Or if I'm introducing it to a new group, I wouldn't add those questions in my notes when I'm introducing that to a group, when I'm sharing the observation. I just want to clarify that. But those questions are perfect because when we get to the section about the art of questioning, those questions are going to fit comfortably in that section. We just don't want to lose sight of those because Zena and Soup asked them. That's why we're keeping hold of them, because we don't want to lose sight of it. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. All right. Somebody keep reviewing for us. What we got next?
Next section I got is the responsibilities. Did we touch that?
Not yet.
Okay. The truths.
Let's go with the responsibilities, then the truth.
Okay. The responsibilities. The rabbi responsibility is to teach the lesson. The rabbi's responsibility was to teach the lesson, or is to teach the lesson. The disciples' responsibility is to repeat the lesson. The disciples' responsibility is to repeat the lesson, and the crowd's responsibility is to pursue in order to hear the lesson.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Now our truths. And again, what I hope in our group is we want to make sure this is the same pattern of notes we have as a part of this group. But also, if my notes are different, I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to say, "Oh, pause" or whatever. So that's our goal right now. But if you're silent, that means we agree. That means there's nothing different. All right, and I have it. So just know to speak up if you need us to pause or to repeat something. All right. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So,
all right. Somebody have a question? Is that El Shaddai? Y'all
No.
good? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Will, you got something? I saw you on mute.
No, I stepped out and I just came back. No question, no nothing.
All right, good, good. So now somebody give us our truths.
Okay, let me go for it.
Okay.
The truth around the rabbi's expectation of his disciples. 1. Repeating 100 times only equal memorization. A. 100 times was only normal diligence in their culture. I take that again. 100 times was only normal diligence in their culture. B. There is no reward yet for a disciple only repeating 100 times. That was only normal diligence for the students of the rabbi. I'm taking it again. There is no reward yet for a disciple only repeating 100 times. That was only normal diligence for the students of the rabbi. C. Memorization is not the goal, but it's about products along the way. Memorization is not the goal, but it's about products along the way. 2. Repeating 100 times plus more equal internalization. Repeating 100 times plus more equal internalization. A. Internalization is to take it and make it a part of my thinking, my beliefs, my attitude, and my faithfulness. A. Internalization is to take it and make it a part of my thinking, my beliefs, my attitude, and my faithfulness. B. Internalizing it makes it a habit. B. Internalizing it makes it a habit. C. This is still not the goal, but an accomplishment along the way. C. This is still not the goal, but an accomplishment along the way. D. Internalization increase our touring capacity. It means how much the Father can load on us and how much we can carry. D. Internalization increases our touring capacity. It means how much the Father can load on us and how much we can carry. I. We have to increase our capacity of what we can bear. I take that again. We have to increase our capacity of what we can bear. 3. Repeating beyond a habit equal embodiment. Embodiment equal actualization. A. Embodiment means I become a part of it while it becomes a part of me. Embodiment means I become a part of it while it becomes a part of me. B. Repeating beyond a habit equal embodiment. Now, I'm a representative of Christ. Repeating beyond a habit equal embodiment. Now, I am a representative of Christ.
Let me pause you one moment.
Okay.
I realize the English we speak is slightly different from the universal English. So when we say now I am a representative of Christ, it sounds vaguely familiar to a natural term, but what we intentionally said that doesn't necessarily makes proper English in the sentence is a representation of Christ.
Okay.
Now I am a representation of Christ, and that's intentional and strategic for us to say that. But I can understand why you have representative. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a term I remember Herb saying, suit. So yeah. But I'm a representation of Christ. You know?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I've corrected that.
Okay, great. Keep going.
Yeah, so let me take it again. B, repeating beyond a habit equal embodiment. Now I am a representation of Christ. Repeating beyond a habit equals embodiment. Now I am a representation of Christ. C, embodiment is the goal. The embodiment equal mastery and it halakai. Halakai equals pudazo. I, scripture reference, Genesis 1:26. Let us make man in our image according to our likeness and let them rule. Image equal Salim. Salim equal a representative figure or a representative. Likeness equal amute. Amute equal resemblance. Three ways we should resemble God. 1, character. 2, conduct. 3, concepts. I take that again. 3 ways we should resemble God. 1, character. 2, conduct. 3, concepts. Then D, embodiment also equal spudazo. Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needed not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. 2 Timothy 2:15. The 7 applications of the spudazo.
Yeah. All right.
1, to use speed. It does not mean to be in a hurry or anxiously, but to do it without delay or procrastination. 1, to use speed. It doesn't mean to be in a hurry or anxiously, but to do it without delay or procrastination. 2, to be prompt. To be prompt means to be at the appointed place at the appointed time. 2, to be prompt. And this means to be at the appointed place at the appointed time. 3, to be sincere. Study with your whole heart and soul into my study. Sorry, I think I have a type error here. But study with, to be sincere, number 3, study with your whole heart and soul into the study.
Do me a favor. Do me a favor.
Okay.
All right. Go start at number 1 again.
Number 1, to use speed. It does not mean to be in a hurry or anxiously, but to do it without delay or procrastination. Should I take that again?
Yes. It's good.
Number 1, to use speed. It does not mean to be in a hurry or anxiously, but to do it without delay or procrastination. Number 2, to be prompt. It means to be at the appointed place at the appointed time. Number 2, to be prompt. It means to be at the appointed place at the appointed time. Number 3, to be sincere. Study with your whole heart and soul into the study. Number 3, to be sincere. Study with your whole heart and soul into the study. Number 4, to be or give due diligence to my studies. It means to give persistent application to an undertaking. Number 4, to be or to give due diligence to my studies. It means to give persistent application to an undertaking. Number 5, to labor and toil in my studies. It will hurt mentally and physically. It is difficult. Number 5, to labor and toil in my studies. It will hurt mentally and physically. It is difficult. Number 6, when God says spoudazo, it means to make an effort. Number 6, when God says spoudazo, it means to make an effort. Number 7, to endeavor, to start something with the goal of accomplishing the task. Number 7, to endeavor, to start something with the goal of accomplishing the task. At the end of an endeavor, a discovery should be made. Then E, embodiment equal transformation.
Let me make one comment before you continue.
Okay.
In those 7, I call them usages of spoudazo, they don't necessarily only define what spoudazo means. It explains or illustrates the usage or practice of spoudazoing, but
Okay.
there is no ranking order of those meanings or usages is what I'm trying. Only leaving endeavor in the end, because endeavor summarizes the objective of all. That's why, I make sure endeavor, I wanted to make sure we move endeavor to the end, because it summarizes the objective of all, but there's no ranking order or usage of application to them. So we want to make sure we got them. And I made that comment because and I got so many sections of notes, and I repeat this, that may have been a little different than what somebody else had, and I won't cross hers on that. All of the content is there. I just wanted to explain to the group, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good stuff. Keep going.
Okay. E, embodiment equal transformation. It was not simply to repeat the words, but to be transformed into them. Embodiment equal transformation. It was not simply to repeat the words, but to be transformed into them. When I get to the pinnacle of embodiment, transformation happens. When I get to the pinnacle of embodiment, transformation happens. Actualization is the manifestation of transformation. Actualization is the manifestation of transformation. I think that's all for now.
Okay.
After that is what is a faithful disciple? I don't know, on this note.
Okay. All right. I got a comment. Come on, Sue.
Can we make an asterisk on the manifestation so that doesn't get lost in the mystical?
Yes.
And explain really what manifestation is?
Yeah. Repeat that statement that you had for us. Is that Priscilla?
Okay. Actualization is the manifestation of transformation.
Okay. All right. And that may have been something we mentioned at one time. I'm not going to say, I don't have it in my original notes. And as I mentioned, sometimes when I'm re-explaining stuff, it may come up, but I don't necessarily have that in my original notes. But yes, let's put that asterisk there, because that Soup is suggesting there's a tendency to kind of get that confused, and because we're not talking about something that pops up out of the air, or this is something that actually is derived from our efforts. Right. So Yeah. So yeah. All right. What other, somebody else give a statement, or what do you have there? Somebody else.
I have embodiment equals transformation.
Okay. All right.
Then also I had a question about did we have to be prompt, or let me see, I think I had, did we have to be prompted? Was that number 3? Or
Well, again, we're you know,
it doesn't matter the numerical order, just as long as endeavor's number 7?
yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Because sometimes I may try to recall. I think when we first did it, I try to recall from memory without looking at any notes. And so coming back, organizing my notes, maybe looking at some older notes, I may have rewritten it, and it may have been in a different order, but the content is there, is my point. So yeah. We want to make sure that we have, to use speed, to be prompt, to make an effort, to be sincere, to give due diligence, to labor and toil, to endeavor, is what I have in my notes. That could be different from somebody else's, because if I'm repeating it from memory, I probably just try to memorize or remember each one of the usages. So yeah. But as I mentioned, we won't go back and split hairs on that. So yeah. Does that help, John?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. But yes, so repeat your statement again, Priscilla, on the manifestation comment. I'm trying to remember how we arrived there.
Okay, it's Celiana.
Oh, Cillian, sorry. New
It's
hairdo,
fine.
I can't tell.
Right. So it's actualization is the manifestation of transformation.
Okay, one more
Take
time.
that again. Yeah. Actualization is the manifestation of transformation.
Okay. Trying to remember how we came. Well, how? Okay.
That's because I think that may have been something I put in my notes.
Right, it's your note.
Right. So that's where that concept came from.
Okay.
That actualization piece.
Okay. All right. Because I'm not gonna say I didn't say it. I don't have it written in my notes. So yeah. Okay. All right. No problem. All right. All right. So there is a comment I didn't hear. I want to make sure we have it. A disciple who merely repeats, this is a summary of it all, right? Because now we see those truths, and we want to summarize the purpose of those truths. And this is a summary that we add. I think we all should have it. Is a disciple who merely repeats, but does not internalize with the goal of embodiment has missed the point.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So a disciple who merely repeats, but does not internalize with the goal of embodiment has missed the point. So if I'm repeating without the motivation or the purpose of trying to be transformed into it, I missed the point. I'm a parrot. A parrot can only repeat what is said. He necessarily ain't trying to do it. He ain't trying to live it out. It's just something that he can say, He don't even move his lips when he say it.
That's such a great example.
Yeah. But he doesn't even move his lips. But we don't want to be parrots, because the goal, and this is what I'm learning to really respect about all the negative, connotations we put on the Pharisees and the Jewish people because they crucified Christ. But I'm learning to really respect that their intention was to live this thing out in their life. And it created a system, and God is strategic. Like God created this entire people group to introduce himself to the world. What makes us think he didn't create the system the people group is using for us to communicate it to the world? So yeah. Because that's where the what do they call it, suit? When they try to leave out the Jewishness of Christianity. I don't know why I can't think of the term right now.
Call it replacement theology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's another word too.
Supersessionism.
Yep. I don't know why. It's another word I'm trying to do. Yes. What is it? Anti-Semitism. That's it.
Yeah. That's just another word for anti-Judaism.
Yeah.
You know, what's interesting, I was reading a book and it made a lot of sense. You know, once the second temple was destroyed, if you stop and think about it, before the temple was destroyed, you had the Essenes, the Zealots, the Sadducees, and the Jewish Christians all worshiping in the same temple. And after the temple was destroyed, the Pharisees were the ones that survived, and that's where the rabbinical teachings and stuff came from. They more or less got rid of the of the heretics, so to speak. So that's I just thought that was interesting. You know, there were no more zealots and Sadducees and that sort of thing um, after the second temple was destroyed, and the Jewish Christians, that's when the church kind of became the church, and they began to conflict with Judaism, and there was a separation there.
Yeah, definitely. We'll try to help everybody process that and make sense of it, John. Yeah. Come on, Soup. I see you unmuting.
All right. Hey, I just want John.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. When you mentioned heretic about those groups, give me some context on that.
Well, the Essenes moved to Qumran and just were waiting on the Messiah. They separated themselves entirely from the Jewish body as a whole. The Zealots felt like they needed to take it by force and create the Messianic kingdom on their own by killing people that didn't agree with them. The Sadducees, they were about power and money, and they did not believe in the afterlife. They felt it was only you got all your rewards right here and now on earth. And then the Jewish Christians just believed that Jesus was the Messiah, and that was the big sticking point because, and as the second Jewish revolt, which was Bar Kokhba, who Rabbi Akiva said was the Messiah. Of course, he was killed in the revolt, but none of the Jewish Christians joined in those revolts because that would mean they would have to give up their testimony as Christ being the Messiah. And that separated the Jewish Christians even further from the rest of the traditional Judaism, who did not believe that Christ was the Messiah. So after the temple was destroyed, see, they had no place to gather. They went to Al-Barim and started the rabbinical schools, which was outside of Jerusalem, and that's when they began to codify all these teachings. And that's when all those other people kind of fell by the wayside. But the Jewish Christians were no longer, slowly but surely, they were no longer welcomed into synagogues.
Yeah. So it seems you're using heretic in a different way than they use it in the Western context.
Yes. A heretic in the Western context is somebody that does not believe in the gospel is taught through the traditional Baptist, Presbyterian, all that. But the heretics, the way the Pharisees viewed a heretic was somebody that did not believe basically in the Torah and the teachings of the Torah.
Yeah. So even in that case, we just have to say some of them didn't, because Jesus had those followers who were coming out of those backgrounds. So I guess I'm just saying.
Well, that was the Jewish Christians. Those were the ones that believed Jesus was the Messiah. But you had a huge portion that did not believe that Jesus was the Messiah.
I agree. And those zealots that that the Messiah, that they eventually believed he was Messiah. So I guess I'm just saying, when we throw a term like heretic around, if we're too loose with it, we leave too many dangling participles. So that's why I was asking you that, just to clarify, because that's a pretty loaded word, and it's got a lot of space and interpretation. And you did an excellent job with it, explaining it to us. But that's all I was getting at.
Yeah,
I understand. Yes, that is a loaded term, because we use terms today that had absolutely the concept wasn't even thought of back in the Jewish culture. So yes.
Yep. And if we think about it, man, appreciate it. Both of y'all appreciate it. When we think about it, what I'm trying to do is, it's a loaded term, and it's a weighty term, because the true explanation takes us so deep, and everybody in our group now most of us is just now learning some of these terms and Jewish concepts. And so what I'm trying to do is kind of walk us through some of this stuff to help us, soften the blow when we try to explain those at a later time, which is why I try to avoid the detailed explanation of point in time, like the Second Temple, all this stuff. That's going to come into play when all this stuff, because if we think about it as a whole, it's so much to contain, it's going to cloud our ability to internalize some of this stuff now. And
I understand, Pastor. I'm sorry I got off on a rabbit trail. My apologies.
No, it's good, and I appreciate it, because I'm encouraged by where I see you have gone. I remember where you were.
Yeah, well, that's where you lead. If you follow you long enough, everybody will all end up there.
Yeah.
I second that, Pastor, from the butcher block. I second that.
Me and Zena, real quick, we were out at Hope Church Friday night for an event, Michael Jr., and I was letting Zena know, I was like, when I walk in, I was like, John used to go here. This was his spot before he joined GE. So yeah.
Yeah, that was a good move on my part. I can tell you that. We may have more trappings at Hope Church, but I guarantee you we don't get this kind of teaching there. Or I never did.
Yeah. All right. Well, good stuff. All right. Now, let's gather everybody's back together. So we just finished the embodiment equals transformation. That's the goal. Whatever we do, my purpose should be transformation. If it relates to God's word, let me say this. If I go to a gathering called a church, I should be going in pursuit of being transformed. If I pick up my Bible and read it, I should be reading it in pursuit of being transformed. So the goal should be embodiment. If I study his text, the studying pursuit should be transformation. But in summarizing this, that hadn't always been the case for us. So if a disciple merely repeats, because we contextualize in discipleship, discipling is only being able to repeat. Man, that was the pinnacle for that discipleship learning. So that's why we don't use discipleship. You know, it causes me to cringe when I hear it. I don't know about you, Soup. When I hear it, I'm like, ooh, you know, I kind of turn and twist inside, you know, because it leaves people out there, and I'm afraid for their spiritual life, you know, when that happens. But we want to just summarize this and memorize and remember that I'm not here to merely repeat it, but if I get to internalization and I stay there, internalization will transform into embodiment. So that's why we say this. So a disciple who merely repeats but does not internalize with the goal of embodiment has missed the point. And I'm pretty confident to say that, you know, we're aligned as a group. So we're going to keep traveling. We're going to keep traveling. All right. Anybody else have any other comments, questions, reflections, or thoughts before we move on?
Yes, I just want to say this is really, really, really helpful. And with the ladies I'm discipling this past week, I've been like, I'm taking all of them and having them reteach back to me what we've been learning. So as I'm listening to them reteach back, I'm hearing where where the breakdown in their understanding was. Like I could hear that they can repeat certain things, and then certain things, certain contexts, they didn't know how to connect it to the big picture. They were like, you taught us this, but we don't know how this. And I kept hearing it. And so what you're sharing today is really, really helpful, because it's showing like seeing how Jesus did this biblically and how the disciples got it. How did they see it? How did the transformation happens? I'm able to experience the difference in what just if you're not doing repetition and you're just lecturing, like they're not getting it, even if it seems like they are. Like they might have some good notes, but they are not internalizing it. And so I'm just loving that we're going through this, because it's showing the how to do what we're trying to do, which is multiply, and so.
Yeah, good stuff. You know, I share my claim to shame. Part of my claim to shame is, man, I remember in 2010, I was released from prison, and I had a relationship with Soup, probably 3+ years at that time. And man, I started a disciple group. Man, we met for 2.5 years. And my claim to shame was how I failed. Man, one of them half crazy, another one don't even live for God, and this one right here, the other guy, I'm questioning his faith, you know. But because I realized, you know, my objectives weren't aligned to the real goal of transformation, and so I go back and I learn this context, which is why we're gonna see and hear how important the structure of our group is to the accomplishment of the goal. And that's the Haruta structured group. You know, even way back when we went through the 4 pillars of the GE, we talked about it, you know, and now we have more definition around those 4 pillars. But this is why we structure our groups, because we want to create transformation. And then I can close my eyes and walk away with confidence. But at that time, I couldn't. You know, I had to keep both eyes and my hands and everything I could, you know, on the situation, because the objectives weren't transferred. We were only parroting at the time. So I've grown as well, and I'm learning, and I'm still learning. I'm still growing. So hopefully this helps. But thanks. Come on, Dr. Fred.
That's Coach. I've never experienced anything like this type of teaching and learning. And it has, when I came into this, both Loretta and I, we were just going through the process, right? Just going through the motions. But this whole concept of, is it Havute?
Again, I may be pronouncing it wrong because the V may not even be there, but Haruta.
Haruta.
Probably, better without trying to pronunciate the V. So I look at the spelling and it throws me off, but probably Haruta.
Haruta.
Or Harute. So yeah.
I've just never seen anything like this in a spiritual setting of teaching the Bible, applying the Bible, and actually living it out. I mean, so I just want to say thank you, but I've never experienced anything like this. And the whole idea of embodying it, okay, having the information, there's more information out there than we know what to do with, right? Information is out there, but becoming that information is what keeps me glued to this whole process and this system. So I just want to say thank you. That's it.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Fred. You know, I looked up that word, and you spell it H, right?
Yes.
But then I looked it up in its own. I did YouTube, and they spell it with a C at the beginning, right? But nevertheless, it's still the same word, right? And to my surprise, they had all these Jews and stuff talking about their word. I mean, it was just line after line. I mean, there's stuff. And guess what? Guess who came up as a Jewish teacher and stuff on there? GE came up, and they had us lined up with these Jewish people.
Okay.
On YouTube.
Okay, I see.
On YouTube. See, we got a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I see.
But to have us now affiliated with these Jewish teachers and stuff, I think that was incredible, you know. And I seen it, and they got all the ones that you've been talking about.
Yeah.
They got on there 3 times with this group.
Okay.
Right? The GE is on there 3 times. And I was shocked because I was just going through it to try to find out how do this work.
Yeah.
There you was. GE was up there 3 times with all these people. So you making an impact. We're making an impact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Fred can break down how that happens. I forgot what they call it. But yeah, over time. So yeah, but yeah, okay. Yeah.
Keywords, algorithms.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Yeah. All right. So good stuff, y'all. All right, let's look at our next section. What the rabbis actually cared about. And now we have at least 4 parts, or 3 parts, and the 4th one is a summary and takeaways. It should be. So who wants to take a stab at our what the rabbis actually cared about / signs of a faithful disciple? Who wants to take a stab at that one?
Okay, let me go for it. What the rabbi actually cared about. 1, the rabbi's concern was never quantity alone, but transformation. The rabbi's concern was never quantity alone, but transformation. A, are those disciples being transformed and teaching transformation to the next generation? A, are those disciples being transformed and teaching transformation to the next generation? B, it's not just about how many times I repeat, but am I repeating to be transformed? Is my goal transformation? B, it's not just about how many times I repeat, but am I repeating to be transformed? Is my goal transformation? I, it's not about validation, inclusion, acceptance, but transformation itself. It's not about validation, inclusion, acceptance, but transformation itself. Warning, we will say, I have repeated this lesson 100 times and I still do not truly know the lesson. It will be because your intention or internal motivation wasn't transformation, but acceptance. I would say, I have repeated this lesson 100 times and I still do not truly know the lesson. It will be because your intention or internal motivation wasn't transformation, but acceptance. 1. If I repeat the lesson 100 times or more, it will be because the internal motivation was not transformation, but acceptance, inclusion, or validation. 2. I am learning this so it can transform me into the lesson. And the lesson is the word of God or the teachings of God. 3. We will say I have repeated the lesson 100 plus times, but internally, I still do not know it. Sorry, we just.
Trust me, we understand. So you keep going, no problem.
We will say, I have repeated the lesson. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, loud and clear.
All right. We will say, I have repeated the lesson 100 plus times, but internally, I still do not know it. It will be because our internal motivation was not transformation. 4. I am learning God's truth so I can be transformed into God's truth. Let me take that again. 4. I am learning God's truth so I can be transformed into God's truth. 5. It's not how many times I repeat, but am I repeating because my goal is transformation? 5. It's not how many times I repeat, but am I repeating because my goal is transformation? C. Pierre qui vote. I've been narrating the class.
Yes. Pierre
qui vote. 5:26. According to the efforts is the reward. My effort has to be attached to the right motivation. Only then will I see God's intended reward. Change is the byproduct of seeing differently. When I see differently, I can expect transformation to follow. Seeing correctly shapes and confirms my motivation. Seeing is the beginning of change. The rabbi was more concerned by the disciples' effort than they were about the reward a disciple would receive. Let me take that again. The rabbi was more concerned by the disciples' effort than they were about the reward a disciple will receive. D. Avod de Natan 24. One who learned Torah but does not practice it, what is he like? Like one who sows but does not reap. Avod de Natan 24. Equal the father, ancestor, or teacher says. De means according to the father, ancestor, or teacher. Reputation is good, but transformation is better. Because the goal is to look like the word. Because the goal is to look like the word. Can't unsee what you saw. The question is, what's better than good? The enemy of the best is not the worst, but the good. Why is that? God's goal for you is to be your best. It's not just okay for you to be good. Then 2, a disciple was considered faithful if he or she did the following. a disciple was considered faithful if he or she did the following. A, absorb the teaching. A, absorbed the teaching. B, live it out in their lives. B, live it out in their lives. C, disciples was considered faithful if he or she reproduces faithfully in life or in something else, or in someone else's life, not just in words. Let me take that again. Disciples was considered faithful if he or she reproduces faithfully in life or in someone else's life, not just in word. And in bracket here, I have your works makes a way for your words. Your works makes a way for your words. Avoid the soup. Your work, okay. Avoid the soup. Your work makes the way for your words. Then when it is time to teach on that part, what was true worship? Let me take that again. When it is time to teach on that part, what was true worship? In their culture, your work was your worship. Worship is what your heart is bowed down to. Worship is what your heart is bowed down to. Sorry, worship is what your heart was bowed. Then what your heart is bowed down to is what you will truly walk out in obedience. What your heart is bowed down to is what you will truly walk out in obedience. 3, in Jesus' world, a faithful Talmud was expected / first century disciple making. 3, in Jesus' world, a faithful Talmud was expected / first century disciple making. A, to hear the rabbi. A, to hear the rabbi. B, repeat the rabbi's teaching accurately. B, repeat the rabbi's teachings accurately. C, interpret it within the rabbi's frameworks / yoke. C, interpret it within the rabbi's frameworks / yoke. D, live it out in everyday life. D, live it out in everyday life. E, transmit it, in bracket, our everyday life to others. E, transmit it, in brackets, our everyday life to others. I think that's where we stop. Then have router group in. That's the
Okay.
point.
All right. Good stuff. And everything you have, my notes are slightly different order. I know what I did. I think one week I read or I shared from my written notes. But everything you shared is what we have, except for a summary section I want to give and extend what you have in this area. All right. Anybody else had any other comments, questions, reflections before I do this? All right. We are tracking. Okay. All right. So summary or some takeaways from what we're to learn or what we should get out of it. Let me move it over.
I'm tracking. I just have mine's a little more segmented. I was trying to get that full picture.
No problem. No, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. All right. Now that's great. As I mentioned, you know, what we're doing is we're learning this together, or we're creating as we go. And as I mentioned early on, that's the uniqueness about what we're doing in this particular study. It's not like it's a study that was already compiled and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to take maybe some reorganizing, but the goal is internalizing to transformation. And that's why we're doing this. And what I feel and what I sense when I hear someone give us sections, you know, I don't feel like I hear parrots. You know, I don't feel like I hear people repeating, because we're correcting ourselves. And what I'm noticing is we're intentional about misspoken words. You know, we go back and repeat from the beginning, which I love. I see that, I hear that, and it says a lot. And whether we see it or not, we're practicing and modeling this 100 plus times. I don't see any complaints. You know, we've done this, I don't know, for the last 3 months, some of this stuff, but I don't hear any complaints. I see everybody intently listening, intently engaged, and that's transformation, because we weren't like this 3 months ago. Just being honest. So I'm encouraged. So we just continue to hang in there and keep doing what we do, you know. Keep doing what we do. All right. So let me see. Here's the summary section. I just want to make sure we have it. I'm not sure if we do. If we do, and that's fine. But if not, here we go. We want to revisit a comment or similar statement I made earlier, but let me say it this way: merely repeating words, even perfectly, without embodiment, was considered immature learning. So merely repeating words, even repeating the words perfectly without embodiment, is considered immature learning. So we got to be able to label that on us first before we label it on any students God may give us, because we've been there. I've been there, and I'm embracing that, but I'm correcting it as well, because I want to move beyond the immature learning of my past into maturation, the mature learning. So merely repeating words, even perfectly, without embodiment, was considered immature learning in their culture. It wasn't considered rebellion, but incomplete disciple making. So it wasn't considered rebellion, but incomplete disciple making. So I'll say that again.
Sorry, please. Sorry. I just want to ask, where are we supposed to note this down? Is it part of what the rabbis actually care about, or part of the original expectation note?
No, this is, good question. Great question. So this is part of that last section, what the rabbis actually cared about. This is a summary of the section, what the rabbis actually cared about.
Oh, okay.
So so if we want to summarize some things we're supposed to get out of this section, this is it.
Okay.
All right. Does that help?
Yeah, it does.
Come on, Dr. Fred.
So with this, is this going in our notes where it says summary? A disciple who merely repeats but does not internalize with the goal of embodiment has missed the point.
Yes. Well, no, that's a different section. Let me see where we put that in.
Okay.
No, that's the section before what the rabbis actually cared about.
Got it.
So yeah. So
okay. No. Now the next section is what the rabbis actually cared about, and at the end of that is Avute. Did that get into that section?
Not yet. That's a whole nother section. We had so far as our review of notes, we have not tapped into Harute.
Okay, but then a disciple was considered faithful if he did the following. Does that go into what the rabbis expected of the disciple?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm getting there. Okay.
All right.
I have a question. Pastor Casey, can you describe like what it looked like when you would like hear teaching and repeat it versus when you actually started to embody the teaching you were hearing? And then the second part of the question is to Soup. Could you tell the difference? Like, were you able to notice?
Okay. All right. That's a loaded question for me. And I, not from the very beginning, but it was something I noticed that caused me to cringe early on when I was in earlier disciple groups, when I would hear people only repeat stuff. I was always maybe last to repeat it. I may have always been last to try to reteach what we're supposed to repeat, because for some reason, I didn't know at the time, but I was trying to internalize before I repeated. I couldn't explain it. I remember having a conversation with a guy named Todd and Dwayne. We were riding somewhere together. They had me captive because it was just us three in the vehicle, and both of them had the same philosophy about it. We almost argued, because to be honest, one of those guys was smarter than me. He could memorize stuff quick, and the other guy was just opinionated. He was more opinionated than I was. I was a little bit more reserved, so they had me trapped. But I remember that like today, like what I couldn't explain to them, but what I was trying to tell them, if I knew what I knew now, I would say, you know what, guys, I gotta internalize this first. So I ain't gonna say I got it. I ain't gonna say it ain't no need for this or that. Cause I'm still trying to. So it's kind of hard for me to say when. I think I was in prison. Although my mistake was all I was trying to do in that first disciple group was to get them to repeat. That was my error. That was it. Like, if I can work through this stuff until they repeat it, let's move. If you got it on your notes, let's go. So that's where my error was, leading somebody else astray, right? So, and now I want to go back and correct that, if that makes sense. So yeah. Oh yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And I think you just heard, great question, Sapor. I think you just heard the hinge pin of all disciple making. Now, when he was locked down, all he could know of me is what he saw in 2 hours, ever how many times a week I came. Or I used to go out there Christmas Eve and be with them, or New Year's Eve, and they'd have what they call the faithful brothers, and would have a time together. And I would have disciples with me, and I always brought disciples, and they were spread all over the prison. But all he could see of me was that time that I came, and to his credit, not Will credit, but to his credit, he was ambitious enough to try to run with something. He didn't just sit on it. He didn't just ponder it so much that he wasn't doing nothing. He ran to the limit of his light. That's what he did. He ran hard to the limit of his light. Now, when he got out, he lived in one of the icon houses down there where Garrett and China live. And we were together all the time. So he couldn't live out embodiment until he saw embodiment.
I see.
Yeah. And he pursued tenaciously, just like he pursued Zena tenaciously. Am I right, Zena? Am I right?
Amen.
Yeah, that's right.
Although her version of the story is different from mine, but let's continue.
But he couldn't walk out the embodiment until he saw it, and that meant we spent thousands of hours together all the time, rolling everywhere, anytime we could get together. that kind of thing. And that's mathatusate.
Yeah.
That's mathatusate.
Yep. And what we're talking about here is the practice of diatribo. I remember hearing that word for the first time, talking about it. Didn't understand how to structure it in learning groups. But what we're talking about is the diatribo as well. Because that's when that stuff, I'm going to tell you what really changed for me. When I started going out to the prison with Soup, and Zena and I started traveling to other places with Soup and Herb. That's where it changed. That's where it changed. But think about what Soup is describing. That's where I had different opportunities with information. That's where it changed. So,
yeah. And then when you're in certain environments, it even makes you think through your teaching, because if somebody asks you, how are you living this out? And you can't tell them, because all you're doing is teaching it, it loses all its power.
I see.
You see? And let me see, something else I was gonna say. Can't think of what it is. But yeah. Well, that's how it was with Brother Herb. I walked with him constantly, and I got to see what the embodiment of disciple making really was.
Yeah, good stuff.
That's good. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, good question.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Perry, did you have something? Did I see you on mute? Okay. All right. Okay.
Sorry, please, can we have a retake of the summary?
Yes, that's what we're going to do. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks for bringing us back. All right. So once again, this is our summary section of the titled section, what the rabbis actually cared about. All right. So
Hey, KOC.
yes, sir.
Let me say one more thing to support his question, please.
Okay.
You know, support, there are a lot of guys out there who, when somebody asks them who's discipling you, they'll say Soup. They'll just casually throw it out there, Soup, just because they maybe been to my house, maybe been on a trip with me or something like that. But then I'll ask that person, I'll say, have you seen the character, the conduct, and the concept I live by in their life? And then you determine if it's legitimate that they say they're a disciple of mine. That's how I answer that question.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you, KOC. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Appreciate it. All right. So again, the summary section of what the rabbis actually cared about. So first thought on that. We can title it A under number 4 is merely repeating words, even if I repeat the words perfectly. So merely repeating words, or even perfectly repeating them without embodiment, was considered immature learning. So merely repeating words, even repeating the words perfectly without embodiment, was considered immature learning. That's not the end of this sentence. All right, I'm pausing so we can catch up in writing. All right. So don't go to another sentence or section yet. Merely repeating words, even repeating words perfectly without embodiment, was considered immature learning, comma. Even merely repeating words, even repeating words perfectly without embodiment, was considered immature learning, comma. Merely repeating words, even repeating words perfectly without embodiment, was considered immature learning, comma. Not rebellion, comma, but incomplete disciple making. So the error of repeating words perfectly, ain't that ironic? The error of repeating words perfectly is repeating them without embodiment. But it's not rebellion. It's just
Mainly repeating words. Even repeating words perfectly without embodiment was considered immature learning.
Yes. Yes. Immature learning. And there's a comma. I should clearly say it's not rebellion. So it's not rebellion that we see when we see that happen, comma. We can say but or however, it's simply incomplete disciple making. So it's not rebellion, complete disciple making.
It's not rebellion.
So I started a job, I just hadn't finished it.
Sorry. Sir, please come again.
Okay. Repeat back what you have so I can make sure when I do speak, I align with what where you at.
Okay, sir. Mainly repeating words, even repeating words perfectly without embodiment is considered immature learning.
It's
It's
not
not rebellion that I didn't get the remaining one.
Okay. Yep. So it's not rebellion, comma, but incomplete disciple making. It's not rebellion, comma, but incomplete disciple making. It's not rebellion, comma, but incomplete disciple making. Come on, Soup.
I'm gonna try to illustrate that. I'm gonna try to get that, what you call it, a midrash, what you call it, KFC? I'm gonna try to illustrate it.
Trick vote.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't. Okay. Best I got, I'm just trying to think through it. So you take a 4-year-old and you begin to teach the 4-year-old all the usages of a skill saw. Okay? And you teach them every aspect, all the safety things of a skill saw, 4-year-old. Okay? And that 4-year-old can repeat everything back to you perfectly about that skill saw. But that 4-year-old, without embodiment of actually using that skill saw in a skill saw situation, is immature even in the perfect repeating back of how to use it.
Yep.
I don't know if that'll work or not.
It does. Repeat. Say that one more. Give us that illustration one more time.
Okay. Let me see. Ask East. Does the East know what a skill saw is?
Ciliana, Priscilla, do y'all know what a skill saw is?
Sorry, say again.
Are you familiar with what a skill saw is? Do you know what a skill saw is?
No, we don't.
Okay.
Or probably we're not quite copying the word from your pronunciation.
Okay. Yep, that's called
it's an electric. Let's say this electric saw that you use to cut wood. You cut wood with it.
Oh, saw. Oh, like yeah, chainsaw. Right.
Yeah, that's on me right there. That's on me. Okay, so you could teach a 4-year-old all the words and all the proper usage of a saw.
Okay.
And you could teach them so many times that 4-year-old could repeat exactly back to you perfectly the words you taught to that 4-year-old in a classroom. Y'all follow me?
Yes.
Yeah.
But when it comes to embodiment of using it and actually putting it into practice, that 4-year-old would not have the maturity, even if it can repeat the words perfectly, would not have the maturity to actually use that skill saw.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Right.
don't know if that works there or not. It may be a gap there. I don't know. Dr. Fred, what do you think? It might be a gap there.
I think it's pretty tight, sir. I mean, you knowledge without execution.
Without practice.
Correct. There you go. That's it. Knowledge without practice.
Yeah.
It's immaturity.
That's right.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And how many people will take him serious until they see him successfully use it for its purpose?
That's good. That's good.
So now, I first of all, by it being a 4-year-old, I'm gonna laugh. Even when he repeats it, it's gonna be cute.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, man.
But when I see him applied in the right context, practice, I'm
amazed. I'm amazed.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, you went from cute to amazed.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yeah. Yep. Oh yes. We seeing it happen all the time with some of these youngins out here. So yeah. So yeah. All right. Not with skill solves, but with other things. But good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Hopefully that helps. All right. And we'll put that in a pure K vote here shortly as an illustration in that. But that's good stuff, Sue. All right. Let's see. All right. Another point under a summary. All right. So let me repeat that back. Somebody repeat back what we have so far. I just want to make sure we get it.
Merely repeating words, even repeating the words perfectly without embodiment, was considered immature learning. Not rebellious, but incomplete disciple making.
Excellent. Excellent.
And I thank Zena for putting it in the chat. Thank you, Zena.
No problem, bro. Will.
All right. Here we go. Good stuff. Next section. Rabbinic teaching. In rabbinic teaching, repetition was expected. In rabbinic teaching, repetition was expected.
In what?
In rabbinic, RA is like, it's the term that describes the rabbi's teaching or way of life, rabbinic. RA, somebody put that in the chat. RABBINIC, rabbinic.
Oh, okay. Oh, I get it now.
In rabbinic teaching, repetition was expected. So that's the term that they labeled anything order or era of rabbis would do. The rabbinic teachers. In rabbinic teaching, repetition was expected, but mastery was measured by transformation. So in rabbinic teaching, in the rabbinic circles, they expected repetition, but mastery was measured by transformation.
But mastery.
Is that one sentence or two?
One sentence.
So there's a comma behind expected?
Yes. Sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. In rabbinic teaching, repetition was expected, comma. But mastery was measured by transformation. In rabbinic teaching, repetition was expected, comma, but mastery was measured by transformation. In rabbinic teaching, repetition was expected. So that's why we have expectations earlier. All right. So they expected it. It was a sign that you were moving in the right direction, but it wasn't a pat on the back for being good. In rabbinic repetition, in rabbinic teaching, repetition was expected, but mastery was measured by transformation. So as a teacher, my goal and my job is not complete until I see transformation.
Are you saying mastery or mastering?
Yeah, mastery with a Y.
Okay.
but mastery, was measured by transformation. All right. So rabbinic teaching, repetition was expected, but mastery was measured by transformation. All right, somebody repeat that back.
In rabbinic teaching and reputation.
No, in rabbinic teaching, repetition was expected, no and.
Okay. In rabbinic teaching, reputation was expected, but mastery was measured by transformation.
All right. Thank y'all for setting that example of why companionship learning is important. You see what y'all did? See, isolation causes me to lead away or err in developing truth, but companionship learning holds me accountable to align with the truth. And what you just did, that simple correction and in partnership, shows us why companionship learning is essential. Make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. But one more time.
Okay. In rabbinic teaching, reputation was expected, but mastery was measured by transformation.
Excellent. All right. Next one. B. All right. I'm sorry, we can do C. The next one. This is the third one, which is the C. All right. One who went beyond habitual repetition. One who went, W-E-N-T, one who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion.
Beyond her.
One who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion. I'm not through yet. This is one sentence, all one sentence, no commas. One who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion to the teaching of the rabbi, period. So one who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion to the teaching of the rabbi. One who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion to the rabbi. One who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion to the rabbi. One who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion to the rabbi. One who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion to the rabbi. One who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion to the rabbi. One who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion to the rabbi. Or I should say correctly, one who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion to the rabbi's teaching, which in turn is to the rabbi. So yes, one who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion to the rabbi's teaching. All right.
What about teaching and process, Pastor?
Correct. Yes, correct. One who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion to the rabbi's teaching and process. One who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion to the rabbi's teaching and process. All right. One who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion to the rabbi's teaching and the rabbi's process. All right. Somebody repeat that back.
All right, I got it. one who went beyond the rabbis, one who went beyond habitual repetition, showed true devotion to the rabbi's teachings and process. One who went beyond habitual repetition showed true devotion to the rabbi's teachings and process.
Excellent, excellent. I got 2 more points, then we're gonna call it a day. 2 more points on this, and we're gonna call it a day. All right. Here's D. Here's D. All right. Rabbis taught that repeating a lesson 100 times was ordinary diligence. Rabbis taught that repeating a lesson 100 times was ordinary diligence. Rabbis taught that repeating a lesson 100 times was ordinary diligence, comma. Rabbis taught that repeating a lesson 100 times was ordinary diligence, comma. Rabbis taught that repeating a lesson 100 times was ordinary diligence, comma. But going beyond that showed learning that reshaped the learner. But going beyond that showed learning that reshaped the learner. So rabbis taught that repeating a lesson 100 times was ordinary diligence, comma, but going beyond that showed learning that reshaped the learner. Rabbis taught that repeating a lesson 100 times was ordinary diligence, but going beyond that showed learning that reshaped the learner. Rabbis taught that repeating a lesson 100 times was ordinary diligence, but going beyond that showed learning that reshaped the learner. Somebody repeat that back.
I got it. Rabbis taught that repeating a lesson 100 times was ordinary diligence, comma, but going beyond that showed learning that reshaped the learner.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. What's up, Reeves?
What's happening?
There he is. There he is. Reeves.
All right, here's the last section. All right, here's the last section. I'm going to warn you, the last section has 2 sections in it. All right. So let me pre-warn us. All right. So Jesus is a rabbi whose disciples are not just, semicolon. Jesus is a rabbi whose disciples are not just, semicolon. And so I'm going to say this in 2 ways. That's why it's 2 sections under it. Jesus is a rabbi whose disciples are not just hearers, memorizers, or repeaters. Jesus is a rabbi whose disciples are not just hearers, memorizers, or repeaters. Jesus is a rabbi whose disciples are not just hearers, memorizers, or repeaters. Jesus is a rabbi whose disciples are not just hearers, memorizers, or repeaters, but they are. The next section of this is what they are. So Jesus' disciples are not just hearers, memorizers, repeaters, but here's 3 things that they are: embodiers, imitators, and multipliers. So Jesus is, yes. So Jesus is a rabbi whose disciples are not just hearers, memorizers, or repeaters, but Jesus' disciples are embodiers. They're imitators and multipliers. They are embodiers, imitators, and multipliers. See, when we say imitate Jesus, it's not his words. It's his way of life and his process. It's his way of thinking. You know, it's his way of learning. his way of interpreting. So I just can't stop at the words. So that means I have to investigate. So yeah, when Paul says imitate me as I imitate Christ, he wasn't talking about words only. He wasn't talking about words only. He was talking about the embodiment of what Jesus is, what Jesus did, how Jesus trained, how Jesus invested, how he transmitted. Yeah. So yeah, we learn this process. So Jesus is a rabbi whose disciples are not just hearers, memorizers, or repeaters, but they are embodiers. They're imitators and multipliers. Somebody repeat that back.
Jesus is a rabbi whose disciples are not just hearers, memorizers, or repeaters, but they are A. embodiers, B. imitators, C. multipliers.
Excellent. Somebody else.
Jesus's disciples, or Jesus is a rabbi whose disciples are not just hearers, memorizers, or repeaters, but they are embodiers, imitators, and multipliers.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. Okay.
Pastor,
Yes, sir.
wouldn't that be the concept part of our character, conduct, and concept?
Yes, I think so. Yes, 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 yes. Yep. So when we explain it, like we know what the character is, we know what the conduct is. When we say the concept, it has so much more. Now we can look at this and understand that concept. So yes, good stuff, Sue. Did everybody pick up on that? So there are three ways to identify, like Soup said, and his explanation is, you know, he don't have to go back and defend who's his disciple or not. If they line up with his character and conduct and the concept, that defines whether or not they're his disciple, whose disciple. But you can't get this concept without with me time. It's impossible without spending time. You can be somewhere and hear audio or video of what he taught, but to get this concept, it takes up close and personal. All right. Come on, Sue.
Where's that passage? Maybe it's John 4, where they talked about the disciples, but one thing they couldn't question or deny that they had been with Jesus.
Okay. These men have been with Jesus. I don't think it's John 4. That seems kind of early. Let me see. But good stuff.
Yeah, they were beating them down and stuff like that, but they said one thing we can't deny is that they have been with Jesus.
Is that in Acts?
Yes. Maybe it's Acts 4.
Yeah.
Acts 4:13.
Okay. What does it say?
It says, now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were uneducated common men, they were astonished and they recognized that they had been with Jesus. Wow.
So that's where they saw the imitation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, is Jesus gone by now?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
So with him not being there and they're being bold and being beat down, what in the concept did they see?
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. 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 Good stuff. Pastor Julius.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, my brother. How are you?
I'm well. Miss you, man. Miss you.
I do.
Hmm.
You do miss you too.
I think I have.
I think we heard back from everybody. I had to hear your voice. Let's hear your comments. We're gonna start closing out, y'all. So everybody prepare their takeaways before we get out of here. Give me a takeaway, Julius. Give me any
Yes. Actually, first I want just to appreciate for the teaching of today, and the other point that Jesus is rabbi, who are disciples are not just hearers or memorizers or repeaters, but they are embodiers and imitators and multipliers. So I've seen that really what we are learning here, we are not just learning to hear and learn, but we are going to imitate whatever we are learning. And also, we are going to multiply. So to me, that one has worked for me also today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. May God bless you.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Pastor Julius. Tell everybody in Tororo I say hello.
Amen.
All right. Stuff. All right. Anybody else? Any takeaways?
Yes, I would say for me, when we're making disciples, people always say begin with the end in mind, or they say that with anything you're doing. And but it's never clearly defined what the end is. And so I think today's just been really good at hashing that out and seeing what that looked like and being clear what the end is according to a biblical standard. So if we're saying, begin with the end in mind, well, what's the end? Embodiment, transformation, then so we know what we're not trying to do and we know what we are trying to do. It just makes it more clear about what direction to go, and it doesn't leave it up to me to determine what the end is. I have to go by what the standard that's already been laid of what the end is, and then that's an end for me also as a disciple and as a disciple maker. I'm going towards that, his end. So this was just really, really good. It was empowering, it was equipping, and it was just encouraging.
Excellent. Thanks. Appreciate it. Good stuff. All right.
For me, I think we just saw lived out what Zena was reading this morning when she first started about the reason we shouldn't forsake ourselves the assembling with one another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
I learned so much from everybody.
Yes. Companionship learning. Man, so rich. Good stuff. All right.
For me, I'm going to say this. You taught me a new method today. You always bring up something new. I don't know where you get this from. But when you talk about the parrots, man, that was fun. I said, now I see a person could just repeat something and don't have no intention of doing it.
Yeah.
But in the example that Sue made with the 4-year-old, you can teach a 4-year-old how to take back everything, but give them their skills on, they'll cut your leg off.
Yeah.
So it's been just like the sister say, be not only a hearer of the word, but a doer of the word. And that's what I have learned today. It don't make no difference you hear if you don't do.
My thought on today is we're living in the age of artificial intelligence. And what you have taught and demonstrated today is authentic intelligence.
Good stuff. I should have known. You was going to come with one. Good stuff. All right.
This is authentic.
All right.
Yeah, a lot of great points made. I'm still thinking about that question. Soup asked, why did Jesus open his mouth? Why did they put that in there? So I'm gonna look into that after we get off the phone.
John the investigator.
Yes. I'm thankful for I take the takeaway I got today was the most powerful thing. Everything is powerful to me. But the skill saw thing, like that was just powerful for me. It was an excellent example. And I just wanted to tell KUC, thank you for your study time. Not just for you, but thank you for your study time for us, because this is amazing. Yeah.
Can Zena, can I get Zena? Zena.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
can I get some of that love? Because I want to tell you something that you might not be aware of.
Yes, sir.
We thank you for allowing him to study. Okay.
Amen.
Without you allowing him to study, he could not study.
Amen.
So thank you, Zena.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, it's getting good around here.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, my takeaway is I must become the word or the lesson. And another one was your walk is your worship.
Come on now. Come on now, Reverend Soup. Look out now.
All right, good stuff. Thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good stuff. All right. Anybody else?
For me, it was I'm trying to think about what section it was exactly from, but where it says your works makes a way for your words. Like without embodiment and transformation, really your words kind of come back void. It starts with your works and how you live it out in your life.
Yeah, that's a pure K Dr. Fred now. I stole it, but he gave us that thought in one of these sessions, I remember. So, but good stuff. So yeah, some good stuff.
Good morning, everyone. My takeaway today was the importance of not just repeating God's word all the time. So many times just learning the scriptures, but not allowing that scripture to become a part of your life and who you truly are, and living it and walking it out. That was my takeaway today.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. Thanks. Appreciate it. All right. Anybody else before we get out of here? All right. Well, good time, y'all. The great thing about it all is we do have it on record. So it's already available. It's on our YouTube. Sometimes it says processing. So if you go on early and you try to click on it, it may still be processing. I'm not exactly sure of the timeline on when it completes, but it'll be available. I'll go in and retitle it. But we have access to it. So let's take advantage. Let's remember our disciplines, rewriting our notes within 24 to 48 hours. Let's continue to review, and we'll gather back here next week, same time, same channel. Our Eastern folks, an hour earlier, we got something crazy in the U.S. called daylight saving time, but it don't work. I don't think it works. But in the spring, they call it spring forward. So our time moves up an hour. And so that's why we came on. I think it'll be 4 p.m. Lagos time. And I think it's 6 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. Kampala time. So you guys will know. But yes, so that's where we are. We'll see everybody next week. Love y'all. Somebody pray us out, and we'll gather again next week.
Lord Jesus, we thank you for this gathering. We thank you for every heart, every family, every person that's gathered here. And I pray, Lord, that we will just take this word out into our hearts so that we can go out here and just represent Jesus to the world as we are becoming better at disciple making and modeling out the character, the concept, and the character, concept, and the content. No, that ain't it. What is it? Somebody help me out with that. What's that third?
Conduct.
Conduct. That we might live out the conduct of Christ in the way we walk and talk, even in our private lives, Lord. Let our private disciple making match our public disciple making. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Man.
Great
Amen.
job. Love y'all.
Love y'all.
See you guys. See
Hey.
you next week.
Thank you all.
That's it, Mr. Bates. Always good to see you and your family, sir. Always. Love that.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.